Hello friends, in this video presentation you will be able to figure out how to make use of PHP PDO for performing user login, or eventually I can say that with the help of this video I can show you the select query which we will be making use through the help of PDO. Okay, so let's get started. As I log into the application, let me show you over here. There is a folder called CRMS2. I just click this particular folder and I'm inside the application. And this is the first page that is going to run. As you all know that if a folder contains index.php, then eventually it gets started automatically. And that's what we are seeing it. So I'm expecting to provide username and password over here. And let me open another tab and I will be going to localhost/php myadmin. That's my database where I can show you that the record of the following application has already been inserted. So how this particular page is working, so let me come right to the source code. So from the top, if I have to scroll down, as you can see, this is the following statement that provides you the database connectivity. Let me just get back to this file, that is connection-pdo. Just for brush up, I will be opening the file. Here it is, and even over here you can find out there is another file that is associated. So let me open even that file as well. And here it is. So these are the following variables which I have initialized for performing database connectivity. It will be localhost, the username is root, and the default user do not have any password, and there is a database called CRMS. Hopefully the database is already open. Yeah, here it is, CRMS. Okay, so before you start the application, make sure that you have this database called CRMS and you already have a table called user_login. What I mean to say is that I have created a table called user_login. You are free to choose whatever name you want and accordingly make the adjustment in the code as well. I have got two attributes. One is called username and another one is called password, and the following data I have already inserted. It's your choice what attribute name you prefer. Make sure accordingly you adjust the code as well. Okay, so let's get back. So here are the following credentials, and now I'm switched to the connection-pdo file. I'm making use of PDO. This is my constructor. These are the following arguments which I'm going to pass. The database driver which I'm using is called MySQL. All these attributes will be initialized from the help of this particular file. And once the connection is set up, then there is no error. In case if there is no error, then the catch block will not be executed. Directly we jump to the index.php. Okay. As we start from the top, we will find that the following line is asking a question, that is there any control by the name called login? Is it set in the memory? Obviously the first time I just opened the page, so naturally how will I set it? I didn't click anything, I didn't do anything, I just opened the page. So naturally the answer to this question will be no. At this point of time there is no such control that is there in the memory by the name called login. So if condition is turned out to be false, so naturally this whole segment of the code is not executed. We come directly to the HTML part, and here it is. In the HTML initial some CSS are there, so we directly move to the line number 66. Over here also it's asking another question, that is there any variable by the name called $message? Well, obviously I didn't do anything, so naturally there is no question of another variable getting set up over here. But had there been any variable, then the thing would have been true. But right now there is no such variable available because I didn't do anything. Repeatedly I'm telling you that I didn't do anything. I have just now opened the page, so naturally this variable is not set in the memory. So here are we right now in the login in the form. Okay, and if you see over here the method is post, that means I will be transferring my control from this page to some other page, and I want to implement the encryption. Okay, and if you take a note over here, I'm not mentioning any URL as the navigating page. So how the navigation will be taking place, and that's what we have to see very seriously, right? So over here I have written a couple of text boxes, and the following are the IDs which I have provided, username and password. The user will be clicking the submit button, and here is the most important thing. Once the user clicks the submit button, this particular control whose name is login will be set in the memory. If you take a note that even in the button, I didn't give a call to any JavaScript event handling function like on click. There is no such function call. So naturally, when the user will be clicking this particular button, when the user will be clicking this particular button, automatically the following is set is going to be true. Doesn't that sound very interesting? Okay, just imagine initially this particular post segment of code snippet was false because there was no control registered, but the moment when the user will be clicking this particular button, immediately the following segment is going to be true. Okay, that's really nice. So what might be the scenario? Scenario is that user didn't give any input in the text boxes and I have clicked the button login. I can do that. Let's do it once. If I do it, I get a message called all fields are required. So where from the message is coming? So let's scroll down once. User didn't provide any of the input in the following text box, but the user clicked the button called login. Once the user clicks the button called login, the isSet function automatically going to be executed. That means isSet is such a special function in PHP which keeps on monitoring that whether you have done the following action. At the very moment you do the action, immediately it gets triggered. Really, really awesome function. Okay, is set. It's asking a question. Is it set? Yes. Now you have clicked the button. The if set is going to be true. And just keep it in mind, you are using a super global variable called $_post because you are transferring the control out of the scope. Right now you are in the HTML segment, and from the HTML segment you have directly come to the PHP. So there's a shift in the control, there's a drift in the control. So when you're stepping out of the control, obviously you need to pass some value. So you need to have a buffer block where the data will be stored, and that's how the transfer will be taking place. And that's what we are doing it with the help of this buffer memory block super global variable called $_post. And it's a case sensitive, be very careful about it, and it's in the form of an array. Okay, so keep this thing in mind. And the name of the control is right over here, and the condition is true, so naturally the if statement will be executed. And in the if statement I'm just checking, did I give any value? Obviously if I didn't, so it's going to be empty. Yeah, it's true, it's empty. And similarly the password also I didn't give any value, that's also empty. And over here I have got an OR operator. That's how in PHP we're making use of the pip for generating OR operator. The moment this condition is found to be true, naturally the else part won't work. In that case, I have declared a variable. Hey, you remember the variable which already encountered below? So this particular variable I have setting with a value called all fields are required. Remember this variable I have already set below, and it was checking that whether the dollar message was set or not. This is the time the dollar message got set, and automatically the isSet function, that mind-blowing function, got executed. And what I'm doing, I'm just printing the content of the variable. There are some HTML as well as some CSS inline I have written over here, and then the variable actually got displayed, right? And eventually you are seeing the following message: all fields are required. Isn't this really a nice way of doing it? Very clean way of doing it. The moment you trigger the value inside this particular variable, automatically this set function got fired. I really love that. Okay, what if the user has given some value? Might be user has given a value which is not appropriate. Suppose I have given the value my name, first name, and my last name. So naturally this is not the right username and password, because we saw the username and password are this. So if I click the button now, another message pops up, this time wrong user or password. Let's check out what happens. So this time the if condition is not going to be true, it comes to the else part, and in the else part I'm declaring what? I'm declaring SQL. No, I'm not declaring SQL. I'm declaring a variable by the name called SQL, and that is holding a string. Often students get confused by seeing this and assume that this is an SQL command. Yeah, undoubtedly SQL command. There is no shortage of that. But the thing is that right now we are in PHP, and PHP cannot directly execute an SQL. So for that reason, you need some special adapting function. So right now you can say that this is just a string. It's just a string because I have a quotation open over here. So this particular PHP variable, which can be by any name, believe me, it can be by any name, I have given just for the sake of making you people understand that there is a variable called the name called SQL, which has a string value, and this is the following value. Don't worry, I will explain the meaning of this value. So in this following line, I have said what to do, but did I tell where from to do? I didn't tell that there was connectivity, and that's what $PDO. Hey, you remember $PDO right over here? The same $PDO is available, and since I'm giving a call to a function, and this is like an object. Okay, you're making a reference variable. You see there is a constructor, you're making a reference variable. So reference variable always makes use of the arrow operator. So the reference variable is giving a call to a function called prepare. So the LHS, the left hand side, is telling which database it should work on, and the RHS is telling what exactly it should do. So the following statement gets saved under the variable called $SQL query. Dollar query. Okay. So now we have to trigger this particular variable, and we will be doing it with the help of an execute function. An execute function takes an array, and it is an array in the form of a key value pair. This is the key. Okay. Why did I write this particular key? Well, you can choose any name you want, but make sure whatever name you're writing on this left hand side, the same name you are supposed to write right over here. So basically, if you find a colon over here, this is a placeholder. This is a placeholder. So what actually is happening? $_post username is the same username which you have given as an ID in the text box, in the same username password as an ID you have given to the text box. So following are the respective text boxes. So user will be giving a value right over here. So this is your text box called $_post username. So whatever value I have given inside the text box, I'm assigning it to this key, and the following key I'm assigning it inside this placeholder, and that is getting compared with an attribute called username. Please keep it in mind, this username and this username are the same. So whatever attribute, if you plan to change the attribute name, make sure this attribute name should be right over here. And this username, which you can see, suppose this can be X, then this will be X, and this can be Y, no problem, and this can be Z, no problem. But just for making the thing simple, I have written all the things by the same name, because I know the difference are very clearly visible, so there won't be any confusion at all. So this is the text box name, this is the temporary key, the key is mapped over here, this is the attribute name. So they are very unique, so there is no duplication, right? So once you fire this particular query, what you are expecting, either a record will be there or else there will be no record. Just like the way you can figure out right now, I gave a username something like that, something like that, so naturally there won't be any record, and the reason that the record is not available, how do I claim the record is not available? Very simple. If this particular variable has got no row, and that's what I'm going to count, that whether this particular resource has got any row. Again, this is our object. So object is giving a call to a function with the help of an arrow operator, like what we have done over here. So these points you have to keep it in mind. These are some special functions that are available within the PHP, which is counting that whether this particular variable or the reference variable has got any record or not. So naturally, if you are giving inappropriate credential, so there won't be any record, and as a result, the message else part got executed wrong username, and again you are assigning the value inside this particular variable called $message, and which you have already gone for a set function over here. So here you are seeing the output of that particular variable. Otherwise, let's assume I have given a correct username and password. So in that case, obviously the row count will be at least 1, and that is greater than 0. So the condition will be true. I want to start session. Start session, and I have already made a session video. Please check out the link, and you will find that the entire session has been explained over there. Whatever username I have given, that what I want to assign to the session variable, and the following session will be active for this span of time. Okay, this is the time as long as the session will be active. Oh, sorry, this is the time when I'm setting the cookie. So I'm creating a cookie by the name called user, and inside the cookie I'm assigning the following value, and the cookie will be active for so long. And I'm creating another password, and the password will be having the content, and I'm keeping the password active for so long, and then I'm navigating. So header is a function which will be used to navigate to the PHP page. Okay, so that's all what we are doing over here. And after that, if you come down over here, if the cookie is already been set, in that case this entire page will not work if the cookie is already set. But if you see over here, I've set the cookie within the root, or else you can set it in the temporary variable. If you set in temporary variable, then definitely the next time when you open the page, you will be not able to visualize this whole thing if your cookie is already been set by the name called username and the name called password. If these cookies are already been set, then from the local storage of the browser the cookie will be retrieved and will be stored in the respective variables, and then we will be assigning the value to these text boxes, and then we will just move out of this. Okay, well, again, I can say that this part is not compulsory, it is optional. You just check my session cookie variable, accordingly you can modify this piece of code. Otherwise, this is how the entire login is going on. So respective username which I have given in the database, so I will assign that now. So I'm going for admin and the password is admin. So naturally there is already a record available, so this particular if condition is going to be true, and over here the if condition is, I click the button and it is not empty, it will fetch the value, and the rep count is going to be greater than 0, and this particular cookies are following thing are set, and then I'm just redirected to the next page called dashboard.php. So let me go ahead, I click this, and I am right now in the dashboard.php. So eventually my SQL command works successfully. Well, that's all from this video presentation, and I believe that you have understood how to go for login using your PHP PDO. Just keep watching my video, and I'm very sure your confusion will be very clear. Just see it forward and backward, okay, and wait for my next video. Until then, have a nice time. Thank you so much.